Three wins for England in the Super 8. Michael Vaughan, England and Pakistan have big smiles on their face because Pakistan survived thanks to what England's done by beating New Zealand. England have managed to chase down 159. They did this with 4 wickets in hand. Tom Banton got 33. Tom Banton got 33. Will Jacks got 32. Harry Brook 26. Rachin Ravindra picked up 3 in his 4 overs, gave away just 19. I'm Saiyami Kher. We're back at Cricbuzz Live. I've got Michael and DK with me. Gentlemen, the mid-match show, everyone was saying New Zealand, but your team has come out and put on a really fine show, Michael.
Yeah, really good chase because that pitch wasn't easy. Will Jacks is having a stellar tournament. He's playing great. And Rehan came out there at the end and played some nice strokes. But I felt it was more a team performance by England today. There wasn't a standout, 100 from an individual player like we saw against Pakistan with Harry Brook's innings. England are improving. That's there's still problems at the top of the order. 2 failures once again for Salt and Butler, but as a team, realistically, they restricted, particularly in the back end of the innings when they were in the field, New Zealand to a chaseable total. It was a tough chase. They looked like they're faltering at around the 12th and 13th over, and all of a sudden they started to fly, started to hit the boundaries, and Will Jacks he's got a lot of confidence. The way that he's bowled, the way that he's batted, he's there at the end, shaking hands with New Zealand. He goes into the semi-finals full of confidence, and dare I say it, it may be against India at the Wankhede. This sofa and that sofa and your sofa on Thursday could be quite hot.
Michael's been calling it and calling it correctly, DK. If he says it could be an India-England in Wankhede, it could be an India-England in Wankhede. But DK, today's game again, England will be refreshingly very happy because at last game there was Harry Brook playing and then wickets kept following on the other end. There was a little bit of chaos in that last game, they just kept tumbling the wickets. But today we saw that middle order come and put on a very, very mature performance.
They'd be elated with their performance because we discussed in the show about they've won games because of individual brilliance. Now today they've won because of a collective effort. The top 4 who they rely so heavily on, not many got going today. But it was great to see Banton do what he did. Also Rehan Ahmed, and at the end Will Jacks, I want to say his name at the last because he's been the star of the show.
Yes.
With the ball he was very good, with the bat even better, under pressure, being an opener, being thrust into that middle order position for him to come and hit those boundaries on a pitch which wasn't easy to bat on. And tells you that England have definitely found a certain momentum going their way and they are going to be a tough team to beat, especially if their openers come to the party. Jeez, they could be a seriously good batting unit.
Well, that's the only box that England want to take off, right, Michael? Because otherwise everything seems to be doing well. Like DK said, it wasn't an easy pitch. They used their feet very well. New Zealand had a whole lot of spinners, but they used their feet very well.
Yeah, they did. England are getting so much better at playing spin. There's been many years ago, the ball would be spinning and you'd give England absolutely no chance. So all these players now have got the tricks. I think they read the game really well. They know the short sides, the left-arm spin is going to bowl wide, so they played a couple of nice reverse sweeps. There was a couple of top edges that fell nicely for England into the gaps, but that was a tremendous chase. I thought they were done and dusted. Around the 15th, 16th, I thought, that's game over. New Zealand will see it. I think New Zealand would be disappointed with the way that they bowled and tactically, bowling Glenn Phillips, that over that went for 20-odd. That was the third from last. That was a big blow to them when the England side needed 43 of 3. You think, that's... a good team should really see off the opposition with that kind of score on the board. But England are just gathering momentum at the right time. They stumbled in the first group, didn't play great against Nepal, didn't play great against Scotland, didn't play great against Italy, lost to the West Indies. And in the Super 8s, they've just got better. They've got better and better. So they come here to India on better pitches, full of confidence. They're dangerous. They're a team that can beat anyone on their day, but it's T20 cricket. I do think the opening partnership will have to fire. I can't imagine that they're going to win against the better teams if they don't find something from the top of the order. They can't just keep relying on Will Jacks doing what he's doing and an individual playing a blinder in the middle. So, somehow over the next few days, a few days off for the team might be the world of good for someone like Jos Buttler.
Or DK, do you think the game changed in that over that Michael's talking about, the Glenn Phillips over? He 22, and then the next over, Santner went for 16 runs. Here we see the last 3 overs. So that was Glenn Phillips, then it was Santner. Do you think these two overs?
These
cost
two
them the
overs
game?
obviously very crucial, but I think the introduction of Ish Sodhi opened the floodgates. Those
Alright.
2 overs going for 21. And the wrist spinner not being consistent always would put pressure on a pitch like this. Till then, they'd bowled only finger spin. They went to Ish Sodhi for 2 overs. That 20 runs, especially that first over, opened the floodgates. And then obviously England believed they could win. They played another over of Ish Sodhi, and then obviously Glenn Phillips over and Santner to follow it. 18th and 19th completely took it in England's favour. But credit to them, the way that they have approached this chase, knowing that so much of spin is going to be bowled, but still finding a way to get close to that score, considering they have a bunch of openers, actually, a bunch of top order batsmen. All of them are fitted into various places in the middle order. So it's good to see them adapting. And we heard Michael speak about how England were always vulnerable against spin, and that's always been their challenge and the mountain to conquer in many ways. But it's great to see their pathway where they do try and go to various parts of the world to get better at their skill, and one of the places that they do come to often is India. And it's so nice to see them do well. It'll justify and validate what they put in as work in the pathway systems as well. So all of that coming to good effect here, and the skill coming through as well. A lot of them doing well, have all played franchise cricket around the world, and they're getting better at playing spin. So that is really helping England to achieve what they have today.
Yeah, this is England's format.
Yes.
They've now made, I think, 6 semi-finals. They know how to play T20 cricket, and that's been the case for quite a number of years now. So I think when they're in this format, they've got a number of players that can win you games. And, as DK said, I think the team are not scared of any conditions. I think in Test cricket, we're still a bit vulnerable in certain conditions with the style of play. I think in 50-over cricket, I think there's a few teams that have gone ahead of England. But in T20 cricket, they're still a very dangerous team. I still don't see them on paper and with the way that they've played as one of the top teams just yet. I think South Africa, the West Indies, I think India look to me like they've got more in the tank. But on a given day, and with the confidence that they should find from winning 3 in Sri Lanka, they'll get on the plane. I think they look like they'll come to Mumbai. They like Mumbai. Someone like Jos Buttler, it's amazing that, his record of late, I think we were just talking about it, DK, weren't we? He's got 150 in his last 26 innings in ICC events. That was an 80-odd not out against the USA. So he's coming to a venue, Mumbai, where he's had success.
He likes playing in Mumbai.
Exactly.
Everyone knows this. He spent time here. So.
He likes the Wankhede. He likes the ground. He likes the bounce. And I guess if there's a place that you would like to go to and you're trying to find some form, for Jos Buttler here it is. It's in Mumbai.
Well, unfortunately for him today, those numbers didn't look good up at the top when Matt Henry came in, and we saw, the first 2 wickets fall in the power play. And we said once again, the England openers have faltered. Jos Buttler was, Ferguson got him, and then Henry got full salt as well. But later after that, Michael, it all looks good. And that middle order has come again and rescued that top order. Will Jacks, again, a word on him, 32 of 18, because he's just been spectacular. I don't know if he gets the player of the match today or not, but it will be the 4th if he does.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, also Rehan Ahmed, look at his numbers. Just put the scoreboard back on the screen, but you look at those strike rates.
19 of 7 for him.
Yeah, you're looking at the strike rates of Will Jacks and Rehan Ahmed. That's where England have won the game. They've kind of gone down the back end. They've got to the last 3 overs where they needed near on 15s and over, and that 22 run over off Glenn Phillips had changed the whole course of the game. They put him in the stand a couple of times, a couple of boundaries, and then they go to the last 2 overs where they need just about 12 and over, which is always doable when you've got so much power. So I'm surprised that New Zealand didn't go back to the seamers a little bit earlier. I think on a pitch like this, we've seen him, Jofra Archer with England, that he bowled at the start, didn't come back. And sometimes on slow wickets, the actual seamers are even harder to hit because you can bowl those cutters into the surface. I know there was a short leg side boundary, which is quite tricky for the captains to get right, particularly when you had left and right and when Sam Curran was out there. But with 2 right-handers out there at the end, I'm surprised in that 18th over, they didn't revert back to one of the seamers.
Because they had 2 of Matt Henry and of Ferguson remaining. So do you think Santner's missed a trick today?
So I feel a decision like that would have been influenced by what you saw in the middle when you were batting. So Santner was batting and they only used spin at the back end, and Santner wasn't really getting them away easily. So he must have thought that spin is a better option than pace. It has to be That is what I would think, because they're designated death bowlers, Henry and Lockie Ferguson, very experienced, someone that he would definitely go to on normal pitches. But because of the way he batted against the spin and seeing the pitch ragging a bit, he would have backed his spinners to do a job. But it's one thing bowling somebody like Rashid and Rehan Ahmed, who are bona fide bowlers, to a Glenn Phillips, who's obviously a makeshift, not a makeshift bowler, but more of a batter who can bowl. So there is a difference in mindset, and that kind of came through. But I wouldn't completely put it down to poor bowling. I'd say, yes, he was put under pressure, but that's the difference. When there's a bowler, the way he reacts to pressure compared to somebody who's not bowled as much is slightly different, and that was shown today.
But DK, what do you think they did differently? Because we saw that New Zealand was struggling towards the last 3 overs. England came out. Were they just, kind of throwing them off with their lengths? Were they using the reverse sweeps more? What were they doing differently?
For a start, I thought a lot of the shots were of not great balls. They got short ones, they put away. Even a couple of the wickets that they got, they were real rank half short balls. So New Zealand haven't bowled to their potential. If you do look at how their composition of the bowlers is, they've got 3 finger spinners. They have Santner, they have Rachin Ravindra, they have Glenn Phillips and McConchy. In fact, I make it 4. So they have 4 spinners, and then they have Ish Sodhi, 5 spinners. So Santner is obviously their best bowler. But today, especially the last over, he got taken down a little bit. But what I liked about England was the way they understood that probably hitting down the ground could be harder, and the way they used their sweep and reverse sweep. If we saw a lot of the shots that they played, be it Will Jacks' first boundary, Tom Banton's first boundary, either came off a sweep or it came off a reverse sweep. And those are such important shots on a pitch like this. And they played it to such a good effect that constantly the bowler is second guessing whether they're doing that. In that, their length is troubled at times, and that was what was evident when I saw with the way England batted today.
Because Sam Curran got out a ball which Rachin, it wasn't the best ball to get out to. Of course, a phenomenal catch in that in the outfield. But Rehan Ahmed, so much pressure on him. He came in. Michael, you've known him for some time. Is he someone who knows how to soak that pressure in?
Oh, he's confident. He's always telling me every time I see him on the pitch he's going to get 105 for us. So it's not possible every game, but he believes in himself. And to stroll out there under, England were under a huge amount of pressure because they're in the semi-finals. So
yes.
You kind of look at that. But to come off the bench because he's not been playing and to produce the bowling and then obviously the batting to see England over the line, it's a tremendous effort from a young player. It really is. Whether he replays at the Wankhede, that'll be debatable because you probably need a little bit of Jamie Overton.
Yes.
I can pretty much guarantee I think Jamie Overton as a batter on that kind of surface would have struggled because he's not brilliant against the spinning ball. So full credit to England in terms of for the last 2 games they've moved Harry Brook to number 3. It's worked. So strategically they're getting things right. Today they saw the pitch, they bring Rehan Ahmed in, they leave out Jeff, they've got it right. So they're getting their tactical side right, which is really important in a tournament like this. When you go to the different venues, if you get a selection wrong and a tactic wrong, in T20 cricket you can lose the game.
Yes.
Against these quality sides, and England are getting their decision making right, which is important. I'm pretty sure Everton will come back in for the Wankhede, but you're looking at Rehan, and I always like young players that come out and have a little bit of swagger. He's got ultimate confidence because if you don't believe in yourself, it's all right. The coach is saying, come on, you're a good player, you can do it. You've got to believe in yourself, and that's exactly what he's done. So it's great for him, and it's just good for England to get on that kind of momentous winning trail. They've won 3 on the trot. They've been in conditions that they've got used to. You've got to remember, and I'll keep going back to the Ashes and the lack of preparation.
Yes.
England prepared for the World Cup by playing in Sri Lanka. They've played all their Group 8 stage games in Sri Lanka. So the preparation got them ready for this, and they've won 3 games at a crucial time of a World Cup. It tells you that preparation works.
You all know what he's hinting at.
The headlines, we told you, Michael always gives us those headlines, but the preparation for New Zealand, they'll be disappointed today because they had the game in their hand, DK. So from there to lose that game in the last 4-5 overs, they'll be extremely disappointed.
I think New Zealand dominated a good 10 overs of their batting and a good 15 overs of their bowling. I think maybe 14, I would say.
Yes.
And those are large chunks of time for you to be in control of the game. And New Zealand is someone, when put under pressure, especially in a world event like this, they don't wilt. They find a way to stay there.
Absolutely.
Somebody has to play extraordinarily well to get past them, which is something you can accept. And that has been New Zealand's attitude. They kind of punch above their weight. But today, I thought the skill levels didn't match up to what the pitch offered them. And that is very surprising. they would be a bit disappointed. I thought the new ball spell was fantastic from Matt Henry and Lockie Ferguson, top notch. It's very hard as an opener. I know we speak about Salt and Butler. Michael, if you put up your pads and go out there, it would have been hard work, I would think, against those two, the way they bowled. The seaming, swinging. And Michael said in the mid-show saying that, we speak about the spinners, but the fast bowlers will have a say first up with the new ball, which happened. So I quite liked how Matt Henry and Lockie bowled, but I can't say the spinners really bowled as well as they should have, considering they were so far ahead in the game. When we did the Combox midway, they were 20 runs behind and 2 wickets behind as well. In spite of that, England have won with 3 balls to spare. I would say well done, England. Considering what their batting is and how they have actually come up in this tournament. They've had a struggle against associate nations. They've lost to a major full member nation in the league stages, but they've picked it up in the Super 8 stages. And that is always a sign of a good team which is peaking at the right time. Whether they've peaked fully, I don't think so. I think they still have some in the tank, especially in their opening partnership. But they are a force to reckon with walking into that semi-finals in Mumbai.
And I think what's really important is that they're winning close games.
Yes.
You look at South Africa. South Africa have pretty much blown everyone away. So they haven't won a close game. You look at...
the double super over, if we count that. But
yeah, that was in the group stages. But I think South Africa have kind of blown teams away. You're looking at when the West Indies have won, they've blown teams away. I think it's quite important in World Cups that, I can't imagine that whoever goes on to win it's not going to have to win a close game. And when you get used to winning close games, the Pakistan game for England was close. Now this game for England has been a close game, but they've got that ability. So when it gets tough and when it gets a little bit nippy, they've managed to find a way of getting over the line, and that's so important as a team. When you just get used to it, and when you get into those positions of difficulty, you kind of just believe that you can get out of them because they've managed to get out of a couple of tricky positions, and that's a really good trait as a side. The Australian side for many generations, they just always used to find a way. It used to really wind me up. But they found a way. This England side is finding a way.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point Michael says, because last World Cup, it was South Africa doing that. Almost every game they are a close one. They just managed to tip over the line every time and eventually went to the final. And that was a close game as well, but that they couldn't manage to pull off. But South Africa is probably, England is probably almost a mirror image of what South Africa had in the last World Cup.
Well, England has gone through with 3 wins. We'll have a look at that points table because England are up top with that Q next to their name. Guys, there's just one game that's remaining tomorrow, and there is the second team that hasn't qualified because New Zealand is on 3 points, Pakistan is on 1 point. So how Pakistan qualifies is if they bat first and score 160, need to win by 64 plus runs. If Pakistan is put into bat and need to chase 161, Sri Lanka score 160, need to win with 40 plus balls remaining. So, well, these are our scenarios for tomorrow. It keeps it exciting because today the Pakistani fans are watching closely, Michael, and England's done them a favor. They have won. So now it's back to Pakistan. The ball is in their court.
Michael, let's start by saying it makes a lot of sense for us to come into the studios tomorrow.
I can't wait.
We have a proper game on our hands.
I can't wait. I've got a great day tomorrow. A bit of walking. I'm playing paddle tennis with GK, and then I'll be into the studios for a Pakistan-Sri Lanka game. It's possible. Those numbers aren't out of the realms to win by 40 odd and to chase that. I think the chasing looks a little bit more difficult. I'm trying to work that out. If they're chasing 160, or what was it, inside 40 ball?
13.2.
13.2, yeah, it's possible. It's harder doing the chase than setting. I think the best chance would be to bat first and get 180. If they can, I think that'd be possibly the best way. But it's Pakistan cricket. That you always pretty much know that it's going to be talked about. And the problem I have with Pakistan, I'm not too sure they're playing well enough. That's my honest opinion. I don't think they're playing well enough to get the big score. And although Sri Lanka aren't playing great, but I don't know if either teams are playing well enough to beat the other team by a decent margin. I think it'd be a tight game, but at least we've got a little bit of hope, and those Pakistani fans around the globe are thinking, it might be just possible to grab through to the semis.
Well, lots of Indian fans yesterday were hoping and praying for stuff which went the Indian fans' way. Pakistani fans were hoping that England wins today. That's gone their way. But DK, these scenarios, what do you think is going to happen?
Not easy, and they shouldn't expect it easy because so far in Super 8s, they haven't played as well as they should have. It's actually unfair on Pakistan to say that because one game was rained out. So the other game, obviously, they got blown away. So that has not helped their cause. Now, if they want to qualify, they're up against a situation where they have to play out of their skin. But we have seen that happen. In T20 cricket, if at all there's a format where you can actually cause a bit of magic, a bit of ripples for other teams to worry about, it is this format. We have seen various times in IPL when they've had some extraordinary numbers to go after. Teams have ended up doing that, and it makes it a thrill, and that's what you would want to see. I really wish Pakistan makes a proper match of it. I feel chasing it down is a good way. But like Michael said, they haven't batted really well to suggest that, oh, they could do it in 13.2. But they are up against it. What I will say is, in the Under-19 World Cup, when they played India recently, they had a similar sort of situation wherein they had to get the score in 33.23, something like that. And it wasn't a great score. They had to score 240 or something like that against India. But they didn't go after it for some strange reason. I don't know why. And ended up losing the game also. It wasn't like because they played safe, they ended up winning. They ended up losing. For sure, I think the national team wouldn't think of that. They would go after that chase properly. And I'm happy that the Pakistan fans live another day for this tournament thinking, okay, if our boys can manage an absolute blinder of a game, we're in for a cracking semi-final. Whoever wins this game looks like they will end up playing South Africa, which is another mountain to climb. But Pakistan, for now, will think we'll try and restrict Sri Lanka to the smallest target possible and chase it down in as little balls as possible. It's not impossible. What's going to be interesting also to see the mindset with which Sri Lanka come in. Have they thrown in the towel, or do they want to still win a game for the home fans? They're still playing in home conditions. How much this game means to them will also determine how strong this contest will be.
Well, you said it's going to be a cracker of a game because the exciting thing is that the game is still alive and kicking. And like you said, Sri Lanka also have quite a lot to play for. But Pakistan, Michael, like you said, they don't play this brand of cricket, right? Which is ultra aggressive and which the scenarios require them to do. So what can we expect from them?
Fakhar Zaman's got to go up the order. He's got to be pushed up the order to get as many balls as possible. He's a player that can get you a 75 plus because he can strike it. It's why they play Babar. Babar obviously against England was it was used as that kind of insurance policy at number 4, and they lost a couple of wickets and he didn't quite get going. But with the ball in hand, it's quite clear for the captain. He's got to bowl his most dominant bowlers who he thinks he's going to get wickets early. As soon as you get out of the power play, I would think Tariq will come on to bowl. Generally, he likes to bowl him in the back 10, but he's probably going to have to bowl him a little bit earlier. Got to get wickets and bowl them out. So, look, if there's a team in the Super 8s that I think can get bowled out really cheaply, I would say it's probably Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Their batting's been poor. It's
we've seen them collapse quite a bit.
Been pretty much reliant on the Sanka at the top, and if he's struggled in the last couple of games and his form's kind of dipped. If they can get him early, there's not many of the other Sri Lankans in any kind of form. So if there's one team that you felt you could bowl out quickly and chase it down, it's probably the Sri Lankan team.
And also Sri Lankans are feeling the heat, I feel. When we speak about Pakistan and how they get a lot of flack for how they play. Sri Lanka in the last couple of days, because the way they have actually turned up for the last couple of games, they have been asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Whether the captain is right, whether the board is taking the right decisions in backing these players, etc., etc. That will put added pressure. So I believe they will come out tomorrow with wanting to win the game. Not think, okay, if it goes away, we'll take it. But they will come in all guns blazing and they would want to at least win one game, and it makes sense. But I also really like the point that,
it's Sanaf Jayasuriya's last game as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think he's stepping down. Yeah, unless it's fake news on social media, but it's been I think it's going to be his last game. So that's a little bit of extra motivation to see off a legend as a coach. So
DK, you're talking about the Sri Lankan team and how you're so used to speaking about the Pakistani management, how Pakistan, the captaincies changed around so many times, Babar, Shaheen, Salman. Now, with Sri Lanka as well, we've seen that captaincy change around quite a bit with them.
Yeah, they've had a fair share of captains. Their captain 3 months ago was Charit Asalanka, but because of certain situations that unfolded in Pakistan when Sri Lanka toured, they weren't too happy and they decided to move on from him, and they brought in Dasun Shanaka to the point where Charit was not part of the squad. Then they added him at the end. So there's been a lot of back and forth there as well. But I do hear that the 2 Indian coaches who went there, they made a difference, especially the way they fielded, and their batting has been heavily reliant on one player, which is never a good sign. There's been a bit of brilliance from other bowlers, but not so much from other batters. All I would say is Pakistan need to relook their batting order. Can they open with fuckers a mark because Saim Ayub has flattered to deceive, and even if he gets going, it almost feels like he can get you a 20-25. Can there be a guy who can get a 60 or 75? It just like what Nisanka is for Sri Lanka, everything seems to be on Saibzada Farhan for Pakistan. You can't be reliant on one player going into such a critical game, and I hope they rethink that. I don't know how much of pressure there is to stick to somebody like a Babar Azam at 4 and whether the batting order they're happy with. I really hope behind closed doors everything is sorted and they're sure what their 11 should be. Because the bowling has been fair, and the fact that Shaheen Shah Afridi found some proper form last game will encourage them, but it's their batting that needs to come good.
But should they be brave and get a Nafei Khwaja instead of Babar?
We could speak for 2 hours about that, but it ain't happening.
Yeah, that's true.
Babar's going to play. I mean, it's just where Babar bats. I mean, I look at Babar. If he's going to be in the side, I think he's got to open the batting. Utilise those first 6 without. Obviously, there's 2 fielders out of the inner circle. I think he's got the game to kind of just chip it over the tops for boundaries. And once he's in this, I think teams when he comes in at number 4, the spinners are going to come in. I think they feel they can control him.
But do you think Abrar should come in because he's been sitting out as well, and he's been like a leading bowler for Pakistan?
Yeah, I mean, whoever they go with in terms of the personnel in the different positions, they've got a license to go.
Yes.
They've only got one option tomorrow, and that is to be ultra aggressive with the bat and ultra aggressive with the ball, because if they don't achieve a load of runs and they don't achieve a load of wickets, they're out of the tournament. So it's sometimes scenarios like this where Pakistan can be at their most dangerous because it's all set in front of them. Yes. They've got to be ultra aggressive. They've got to go for the shots. And when they get the ball in hand, they've got to think wickets. And that's the captain, that's the bowlers. And sometimes Pakistan, throughout the generations, have always played better cricket when they've had that mindset.
Well, DK, Sri Lanka need to play for pride, because if the news is true about Jayasuriya, which we'll find out later, but for Sri Lanka as well, they haven't gone into a knockout of an ICC since 2014. That's 12 years they haven't gone into an ICC knockout. They've had 10 T20I captains that have changed back and forth, and it's really disheartening because Sri Lanka used to be a team, at least for the 90s kids growing up, it was a team which was so threatening. It was so scary to see the Jayawardene, Jayasuriya, Sangakaras, Chaminda Vas come. It used to give 90s kids quite the scare.
I think from 96 to 2011 was their golden period. They really dominated. They went to quite a few ICC World Cup tournaments where they not only qualified, but they went on to win. They went on to not only reach the finals, but they went on to win the tournament. 2014, I should say, because that's the last time that they won the T20 World Cup. So they have been a team which has underperformed for sure in this last decade. They look at themselves and go, the gulf that the loss of a Mahela Sangakara has created has still not been bridged, and they've had a lot of combinations, a lot of players, a lot of coaches and a lot of captains come and go. They have still not found a way to crack it. They've shown glimpses of brilliance here and there. Like in 2022, they won the Asia Cup that happened in Dubai, yes, but there's been nothing consistent for a strong period of time across formats. Yes. Forget T20 in isolation. And that has been a challenge for them. It'll all go back to what happens at your administrative level, how much confidence you're giving to the coaches, and that trickles down to the players. They'll have to relook that if they want to be serious about competing in world cricket, because there are other teams that are doing that well, and you can see the difference they create in results. So all this does play a major part in how you shape up your system. It's not a very individual question. It's a systemic change that they need to bring. And as you were saying, we can speak about it for a long time, but for the moment, I really hope they turn up tomorrow with the belief that they want to win one more game, because a lot of them might not be around the support staff post that. So if not for anything else, at least for that.
Any changes for Sri Lanka tomorrow, you think, Michael?
I wouldn't have thought so. I don't think they need to change. It's just, I do fear for Sri Lankan cricket. They had that golden period, but I think it's really hard for them to compete. I think for quite a long period, they've always been reliant on natural talent. And raw talent. You're looking at someone like Malinga that was kind of taken off the streets to put in the team. And I think they'll always produce that raw, natural talent. But the problem that they're up against now is that a lot of these other teams, particularly the powerhouses, that you keep mentioning the pathway program. The pathway programs of Australia, India, England, they're sending so many players all across the world to develop their game before they're even considered playing for the national team. No, I don't think Sri Lanka are getting that opportunity. You look at someone like Afghanistan. Afghanistan are coming up the rails. You could argue that Afghanistan and Sri Lanka are on a even keel in white ball cricket at the minute with the way that they play. That's why I always have a huge admiration for New Zealand, because they seem to develop incredible players consistently over a huge period of time without the amount of money that the Aussies have, or the England team have, or the Indian team have. I look at Pakistan as well. Similarly, they just don't seem to have the same
Is
structures.
that because you feel there's less dysfunction in that board as well?
I just think that, I think there's, the money that goes to the top needs to be spread a lot wider, in my opinion. But the money is spent quite nicely with the England side, with the Australian side, with the Indian side, with all these kind of development programs, coaches coaching all the kids through all the different age groups, through the Lions programs, through into the national team. So I just don't know if Sri Lanka are getting that opportunity, and if they're not getting that opportunity, they could end up going further and further away from the powerful three in particular. But one thing I want to see is Sri Lankan cricket near the top, because they bring a huge amount of joy. They've always been able to unearth talent, but the structurally doesn't seem to be the right administration developing what's there. And that's something that they can only get right. And I know Kumar speaks about it a lot. I know Mahela speaks about it a lot, which is great. And maybe it needs those kind of people to get involved and try and grab Sri Lanka. Because the one thing for sure in Sri Lanka, there will be talent.
Yes.
There will be kids playing the game with natural raw talent. It's just putting it all together and bringing it through to the national team. Because to think that they've had a home tournament in their own backyard and they get to win a game in the Super 8s, in their own conditions. Whereas you go back 15 years ago, if it had been 15 years ago, I'd have said, Sri Lanka are favourites to win this tournament.
Yes.
With all those players and in those conditions, playing England in Sri Lanka, you'll hammer England. And that's how much the wheel has turned, that England are developing their players before they play for the national team, as are the likes of New Zealand, Australia. I know the Aussies have been kicked out quickly here, but generally the pool of players that these bigger teams are having to pick from is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we have to make sure that we look after teams like Sri Lanka.
Well, hopefully they come out tomorrow and play for pride, because that's what the Sri Lankan fans will want as well. Quickly, Michael and DK, one player each from each team.
From Pakistan, I'll watch out for Saib Zadar Farhan. And from Sri Lanka, I'll look out for Pathum Nisanka.
I'm going to go, I'll go Nisanka. He's the only one that seems to be able to score runs for Sri Lanka. And I'm going to go Fakhar Zaman, who's going to bat higher up, and he's going to get a 50.
England, you'll have heard that when Michael says Harry Brook comes up, he gets 100. Pakistan, I hope you're watching Cricbuzz live, because Michael has a tip for you all. Just for all of those who missed out the scenarios for tomorrow, Pakistan are still alive and kicking. If Pakistan bat first and score 160, they need to win by 64 plus runs. If Pakistan is put into bat and they need to chase 161, they need to win with 40 plus balls remaining. These are the scenarios for tomorrow. So all Pakistani fans should line up, because it's going to be an exciting game. And for Sri Lankan fans, exciting game, because they'll be playing in the Sri Lankan backyard. It's now time to see that joy factor, which we didn't give any thought to at all. So we'll quickly have a look at it. We'll see the answer as well. 2 Indian cricketers made their international debut in the same match in 2014. One of them was the first ever from his state to play an ODI, while the other is still playing for India. Name both. DK, do you want to? There's a cue there. It has something to do with the current Ranji Trophy game going on.
Oh. Must be KL Rahul or Karun Nair, one of the two, isn't it? These are the two names that I can think. Okay, I think one of those two names will be involved in the answer.
Your guesses were as good as your predictions today. So
what about Maya Agarwal?
Oh, do you have a guess as well?
No, that's my guess.
Parvez Rasool for Jammu and Kashmir and Aksar Patel 2014 versus Bangladesh for the answers. Michael got them right. They just came on the screen a little quickly, but he had the answer. Let's have a look at who actually got it correct. Ayush Kumar gets it correct. Well done, Ayush Kumar. 97, you're back here. I remember the 97. Ayush Kumar is born in 97. DK, what were you unhappy about?
He wants to see the league table.
No.
The guessing table, don't you?
It's this time of the program that I dread. But yeah, let's go ahead. It's coming up.
Yes, it's coming up, DK. It's coming up. I know you don't like seeing this. DK has to still see it, because there has been movement on that leaderboard of our prediction. Oh no, why haven't I gone up higher?
Oh, look at me.
Where
I've
are you?
gone to 5th.
Ooh.
I'm chasing Murali Kartik. Watch out.
Everyone's chasing Murali Karthik. He's watching out, but he's still smirking up there. Oh dear. I thought I'd be closer, but I'm far, far away from him.
This is good.
I like that Michael has this positivity and I'm so negative instead of being a number 2. Michael's celebrating his number 5 position. But
Jinx is bottom of the league.
he's a debutant still. So.
Bottom of the league. He's going down.
I don't know whether to feel sorry for myself or Jinx at the moment. We'll discuss that after the show.
Going down.
DK gets quietest when we come to this part of the program when we speak about prediction. He just becomes a very, very quiet man. Hopefully that changes because he's coming in tomorrow. Michael, you're in with him. I think you should help him out a little bit tomorrow with the prediction. No?
Oh, it'll be a hard prediction tomorrow because
You never know
You know
what
what I'm
will
going to do?
happen.
I'm just going to stick one plus or minus with you.
I think that's a
I won't
great
be too
idea.
bad. I had a difficult start. I didn't get one right until yesterday, and I've just gone a bit of a roll. But how do you predict Pakistan?
Well, Michael had
Seriously.
8 wrong guesses in a row, so I don't know if that's great strategy.
Oh,
8.
Yes,
Was it
you're 8
it
wrong
must be from
guesses.
IPL. You've just been getting it wrong. You reached yesterday.
Well, he's been getting what needs to be got correct is the selection for England, the batting positions for England. So I think he'll still take that over the prediction games. DK, I wish you all the very best for tomorrow. I hope you get a prediction game in. I'm not going to be here, but I'll cheer for you in case you do. Michael, I'll be cheering for you for paddle and your prediction games.
Thank you very much.
So you have a good game.
When are you back in?
I'm not too sure when I'm back in. I go back to shooting my film, so I'm not too sure
Are you
when I'm
going
back
back to
in.
your day job, are you?
I go back to my day job, yes. Well, my day job is in threat because I wasn't very good with my acting today in the mid-match show. So now I'm a little worried about that day job, but I'll go
very
back
happy
to it
for
and
you
try
to
and
win.
sharpen those skills. DK, thank you very much. Michael, thank you very much. Guys, tomorrow is going to be a game which is alive and kicking thanks to what England's done today. So do join us. We'll be here at 6:30. Thank you so much for watching Cricbuzz Live.